Okay, so we're now moving on to the final round of questions for tonight's hustings, and we are with our education officer candidates. Llewellyn cannot be with us tonight, but we have Larissa to my right. And when you're ready, big round of applause. And when you're ready, I'd like to invite you up to give your 2-minute speech. Whenever you're ready.
Voting Larissa for education is a vote for accessible, inclusive, and liberated education that's shaped by all. And for me, this comes under 3 categories, the first being access and inclusion. I want a director of student experience and progression for every department who puts a remit of welfare, accessibility, and liberation at the very heart of education. I want us to show outreach to underrepresented groups of students, as well as providing scholarships and grants for students who don't feel that Warwick is currently accessible to them. I also think it's really important to continue the great work already being done, particularly surrounding things like renewing the approach to the fight for lecture capture and cutting course costs, as well as opposing fees and cuts. The second of my sections is amplifying marginalised voices. I want to address the disparity of experience between students like undergrads and postgrads, as well as a number of other students who don't feel that they get the same experience from Warwick. I also want to ensure that we make concrete steps towards liberation of the curriculum, so that we can really say that we have a curriculum that's decolonised and liberated. I also want to ensure that we review the reporting system, because currently structural oppression and things that certain students have to face mean that they have a very different experience, and I want to combat this disparity. Furthermore, my third section is that I want to maximise the quality of our education experience. I want to do this through building on the success of the Hidden Histories lecture series and continuing this by offering extra and super curricular options for students. I also want to offer further support for course reps and SSLCs to ensure that all students feel able to engage with and influence education policy at Warwick. Furthermore, I want to ensure that we're really reaching out to students who don't usually engage with education policy to make sure that all voices are shaping what we do here. There are so many things that I want to achieve, but perhaps the most important thing is that I really want to listen. I want to listen to students who don't feel heard.
Sorry, Larissa, I'm going to have to cut you off
and
there.
that's why I want you to vote Larissa for education.
Thank you. Llewellyn unfortunately can't be with us tonight, but I have received a prepared station that I'm going to read on his behalf. Vote Welly for education, for the students, not the few. I will not be attending these hustings as I feel it is one of the many reasons why the SU needs fundamental positive change with a more student-facing union. Indeed, you just have to look at the number of people who attended last year and the fact that less than 200 people watched one of the hustings on YouTube. Therefore, I am currently hall touring, listening to student concerns from a diverse range of backgrounds which has shaped my manifesto, allowing me to reach out to the whole student population, not just the political anoraks who tend to go to the hustings. To give a brief summary of my main pledges, which reach out to all students regarding accessibility to education, they are as follows. More and cheaper car parking spaces, as students, in order to access education, must be able to get to lectures with ease. I will lobby the university to let students park in the car park near Claycroft and to lower prices. Universal lecture capture. The average student needs to attend assessment centres and interviews in which they miss lectures, and this should not be penalised. Therefore, I will push the university for universal lecture capture. Increase security around the Cannon Park area to protect vulnerable international students. As many of you may have seen the recent spike in muggings, thus I pledge to get campus security to more thoroughly and frequently patrol the area around Cannon Park and begin a dialogue with the local police force for awareness. Greater education on housing, especially for international students who are often scammed by local landlords. Thus I pledge to increase education beyond Housing Day. Finally, cheaper food and drink, as in order to learn effectively, students need cheap, healthy options which are so far from available. Thus, I pledge to lobby the university for cheap, healthy food options. Please remember to vote Welly for education, for the students and not the few. We're now going to move on to the prepared questions. So firstly, Larissa. Academic representation is a key part of the SU, with over 800 student course reps spread across all departments at Warwick. What are your ideas for how the education officer and the SU more broadly can enhance and improve engagement within our own course rep system?
Excellent question, and I love it because it really encompasses all of my manifesto, because access and inclusion and amplifying marginalised voices, it's about bringing in the voices that we don't hear and making sure that that is reflected in education policy. That is the key thing that I want to do here. I want to ensure that students' voices are at the heart of everything that I do, and without students' voices, nothing I do would be legitimate. So it's ensuring that we really capture the essence of what students want and need on this campus, and we make that happen. We make that a reality together.
Fantastic, thank you. Second question. Widening participation is a fundamental working principle of the SU. What would you do as education officer to make education at Warwick more accessible to those from marginalised communities?
Well, first of all, I just have to note that I would be the first Afro-Caribbean woman to be a sabbatical officer at this university. So, first of all, it would be making sure that I'm bringing people up that ladder, because I know the things that people face that create barriers to accessing this kind of engagement. And I've had it firsthand. And it's reflecting on my own experiences, as well as listening and curating a way of actually listening to those of others to ensure that we push past these barriers, because it's 2018. And even the people that are engaging with the SU at the moment, we need to make it more diverse. We need to ensure that we in our interpersonal relations, in the way that we communicate, in how we engage students, we need to ensure that we are not continuing to repeat the structural oppressions that mean that certain people cannot engage and do not engage. And I really do want to repeat this. My main thing would be listening to students, because...
Sorry, Larissa, I'm going to have to stop you there. Thank you.
Sorry.
Final question. What do you see as the biggest issue impacting students' academic experience, and why?
I think that's a bit of a trick question, because the biggest thing impacting students depends on that student, because we all come from different backgrounds, we face different experiences, we go through different things that mean there are barriers to our education. And I want to address each and every one of those things with you, if you'll allow me to be your education officer.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the prepared questions. Are there any questions from the floor? Yeah, we come to Emily, and then 2 rows behind.
Okay, at the end of your term in office, what would you like to see the situation in terms of education and more broadly at Warwick look like? What sort of concrete changes would you have liked to have seen introduced?
At the end of my term, I would like to see specific departments with liberated curriculums done. I really think that's possible, because it's time that we stop talking about it and that we do it. And I think the work's there, the groundwork is there, and it's about ensuring that things are in place and that frameworks are in place so students who have the ideas and have the passion to make it a reality can do that. And so I think that would be one of the key things I want to see by the end of my term.
Fantastic, thank you. And then 2 rows behind.
So how will you ensure that working class students can get the most out of their time at university?
I love that question. I'm from Croydon, SE25. So I think for ensuring that working class students get the most from their experience, definitely I think listening to them and engaging with them to see what kind of extracurricular and supercurricular options we can provide to make sure that the experience of education at Warwick isn't just the lectures and the seminars that you go to, that it's a wider experience of enrichment.
Fantastic. Any more questions from the floor? Yep.
What kind of training will you try and deliver to better equip student representative like course reps, PG and UG SSLCs to better represent students and improve education through those means?
Perhaps that actually links to the previous question, because I'd be looking to ask students who currently don't feel able to engage with SSLCs why they don't, and addressing that through training. But in terms of what I know now and what I can say concretely to you, is that I would want training for even kind of being secretary of an SSLC. Like, how does that work? If people don't feel able to put themselves up for those positions, then that's a problem that we need to overcome. So it'd be looking at training that supports students to feel able to run, and then also students who are within SSLCs to support them in order to do the roles that they want to do within that.
Thank you very much. Any more questions from the floor? I have one question. How will you tackle the problem of the lack of car parking spaces so that students can attend their lectures and seminars?
I think car parking spaces is definitely a huge problem. I think there's more work to be done in terms of promoting kind of shared systems of getting to Warwick, because lots of us live in similar areas and some of us drive. So if people are driving, then why can't people come in together to ensure that there's less cars and more people getting transport that they need? And I think building communities of support where we're looking out for each other and ensuring that everyone can get here to their lectures and seminars is one of the key things I'd want to do.
Fantastic. If that's all, then can we have a big round of applause for Larissa?